same track. Exactly the same way that Tom did.
It's beautiful.
You have people coming from Raleigh, playing college and stuff. The height just change over.
When he said that,
Comes up on it, big one.
they got your relationship. Thank you.
And they're taking some Beatles impersonators.
All good, dude.
I'll let you guys in.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Are we recording this? Yeah, it's right there.
Oh, hello.
Welcome to
I'm blind as a
AwesomeMania.
bat.
Welcome to AwesomeMania. My name is Michael Lindenbaum. This is Ben Taylor. AwesomeMania is a panel that's been going on for 10 years now.
Yeah.
That started at AwesomeCon in Washington, D.C., which Ben was on the very first one. I didn't come in until a couple years later. And we now do a podcast called AwesomeMania, which for a while we were doing like news, pay-per-view predictions, stuff like that. And now we just do watch alongs. So you can watch an old school pay-per-view on the worst streaming app known to man, known as Peacock. And you can watch old school pay-per-views with us as we riff on them. And
Well, when we run the convention panels,
yeah. And then
we just kind of like to consider it a safe space to talk wrestling. Like we don't come in here with an agenda of what we want to talk about or a plan.
we may argue with him. But he
We'll
may
probably
argue.
end up arguing with it. But we like to just chat with the audience and see what's going on in their wrestling worlds and sort of just chat, really.
So we open the floor to you. What would you like
I
to
mean-
talk
there's a lot of obvious things to talk about. Isn't there?
Yeah. I remember last year we did the panel at AwesomeCon literally the day after CM Punk debuted in AEW.
Yeah, that was the thing.
That was we went into that one and said, all right, we're gonna spend the first 5 minutes of the panel talking CM Punk.
And then
we're
we're done.
And then we're done. And we're not talking SummerSlam.
So what do you think of this whole new direction of TV 14 Monday Night Raw?
One, when is it starting?
I wasn't asking for you
I know.
to like, oh, it's not going to happen. So I was asking for your opinion.
I think it's a step in the right direction because as long as they've been doing PG, like they've always pushed the boundaries, but I think they need a little bit more creative freedom. And with the stuff going on with Vince, now Stephanie's the interim CEO and chairwoman. She's got Triple H and Paul Heyman as her two right-hand men and stuff. I could see maybe down the road it being beneficial, especially if the book gets taken off of Vince and put on something like a Paul Heyman or Triple H. Because we've seen what Triple H has done with NXT, and we've seen what Paul Heyman has done with SmackDown in the past. And those were also, technically in a way, TV 14 shows.
Yeah.
So,
What about you guys? You excited for Monday Night Raw to be changing, or
How
you
do you
think it's
feel
not
about it?
enough, or what?
how do you feel, John Cena? They're moving away from the PG.
It's good. It needs to happen. I think it's one bad since it went PG what, 2012 maybe?
2008.
2008, yeah, so a little earlier than that.
They've been PG.
That's kind of when the product couldn't. They took a lot of the amateurish stuff out of it, which is fine. I mean, change is good, but if it's not working, then don't fix what ain't broken.
So, not to start fun.
You starting? No.
But what about it's not working?
The PG,
Is it?
not-
What is your definition of not working?
they need better stuff. The gimmicks are not good.
So you're talking from like
I'm
creative.
talking creative.
Because I would think Vince signing a multi-billion deal with Fox
That's
would
good.
indicate that PG is working.
And
It's not working for us necessarily,
Right.
but for the greater picture,
For money, it's working.
something's happening.
But also keep this in mind, the TV 14 is not for Fox.
It's for USA.
It's for
only.
USA
But
Network.
that's what I'm saying, is like, the PG was doing something right that it got them multiple billions of dollars.
Because I believe Fox was a $2 billion deal. And I think USA.
It also affects who can advertise that.
Yeah.
Don't look at who's on Fox too compared to who's on Raw. You've got Roman Reigns that goes to Fox mostly. So you got most of your champions.
Wait, who's been on TV lately?
I mean, he's been on, I get it, but what I'm saying is you've got most of your big guys who go to SmackDown because it's Fox. There's more money in Fox than there is USA.
Well, you are not wrong.
Yeah, so.
Well,
I'm just saying that I think to say PG wasn't working is a little bit of a simplification.
I think the best way was like when my friend Dixon posted on Facebook. He posted like a meme. It was like, oh, if you were given the book, what would you change in WWE? And of course, almost everyone that was commenting except for us two were going like, oh, you got to fire Vince, you got to fire Bruce Prichard.
That's not creative.
But that's the thing. That's not creative. And like, you were the one who came with the biggest thing. Like, oh, I would give.
Double down on the brand split.
Yeah, get rid of the right, get the writers right. That's all.
Well, see, I don't think the writers' room is necessarily bad, because there were writers' rooms during the Attitude Era. There were
Right.
writers' rooms.
Well, I'm not
during-
saying get rid of the writers, I'm saying change it up. Like get,
Oh yeah, for sure.
well,
And stop scripting promos and stuff like that.
Go back to bullet points.
But what you should, like, the biggest thing they need to do, double down on the brand split, and give each brand its own identity. Let them be run by separate people. Let them feel like different companies.
Because literally,
It's why NXT stood out.
well, and not only that, but if you look at it from 2002, when they did the very first brand split, to about, say, 2006,
The SmackDown 6.
the SmackDown 6 and stuff like that, that was really good. And the fact that they were able to make that go strong for a good 4 years before Vince decided, yeah, I want to change direction a little bit and muddy the waters a lot. You know?
I think it's more on, if you're, I'm not gonna hop on the PG thing. There are other PG wrestling shows on television,
Oh, yeah.
which are excellent.
Oh, yeah.
But we also have to note that it also, one factor on the USA side is also AEW. Because they're watching the product on TNT and TBS, and they're seeing this TV 14 product, which really should probably be TV Moss sometimes when they have some of those promos, like when MJF just went to town on the last time he was on TV.
That may have been his best promo though. That's the whole thing.
They're watching that and they're seeing that and they're probably going like, can we get a little bit more with that with Raw because we are giving you 3 hours, and we want like maybe like say the 8 o'clock hour you can be PG, but like we want you to be TV 14 in those other 2 hours. Like
I don't think giving them 3 hours is the right way of doing it. If USA weren't happy with Raw being 3 hours, it never would have gone 3 hours. The whole reason that everyone's like, we need to take Raw back to 2 hours, and everyone's like, it's never going to happen, is the sheer amount of advertising money that Raw makes. Like, they could literally put like Johnny Saint and a dead body in the ring for 3 hours, and the amount of advertising money it made would make USA happy.
which is very true.
I mean, and that's a really cynical way of looking at it, but
But also, but at the same time, in a way, AEW is kind of pushing USA's decision based off of the reports that we see from
for sure.
Congress.
I'm not gonna say they're not. I'm just saying that I'm not sure USA will mind the 3 hour Raw without.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's that, but I can see them still going up and like, you have a 3 hour show on Monday nights. First hour, yeah, you could be TV PG because that's the time when the kids are probably going to be watching more compared to like say the 9 and 10 o'clock.
Funny story. This is exactly what I said to Mike in the car on my way
I just like to sound smart too, sir.
Yeah, not to stick on WWE, like, just to go back to what I was saying, other PG shows are very good. Impact.
Good. Impact's great.
Impact's probably my favorite company right now. I love watching their stuff.
Now, is that because of the wrestlers though that are in it compared to what we got in WWE and AEW?
I think it's just storytelling in general.
Because there's a little bit of that, but like, one of my favorite storylines in any of wrestling is, hey, I'm really good at doing other wrestling. You're really good at doing other wrestling. Let's do other wrestling and see who's better at doing it. And Impact do that a lot. I just like the fact that people wrestling seems better. I don't need weird storylines and baby mamas and Mae Young giving birth to a plastic hand.
You just had to bring that up. didn't you?
I mean, the one storyline they're doing right now at Impact, reading what they did on Impact this past Thursday, is Chris Sabin, pretty much going up to Scott D'Amore going, I want a title shot. If it wasn't for me pushing Josh Alexander to use option C, he wouldn't be the champion right now. I want a title shot. And then Alex Shelley just kind of walks in and goes, I would like a title shot too. And so now we have the Motor City Machine Guns in a one-on-one match against each other.
They're doing other wrestling.
They're doing the wrestling to see who is the better wrestler of the tag team to get the number one contendership.
And then they'll go back to being a tag team.
Yeah, and I believe for Emergence, look at the title shot there at that pay-per-view. So it's just simple booking.
Another thing that I'm gonna get my Impact towards here a little bit. Whenever anyone talks about like favorite gimmick matches, it really annoys me that no one brings up Ultimate X. I love that match. I love that match.
Wasn't Speedball Bailey supposed to technically take the X and have him on the ground to win?
The rules in that match have changed every time they've had that match. Like literally every time. Because the first time they did it, somebody tried to climb a ladder. And then for the second time they did it, they had to put in, you have to go across the ropes. And then the second, I don't know. I love the Ultimate X match. I think it's a very underrated match.
I agree.
Like compared, like everyone's like, oh, it's. We can talk about the King's Mountain match all you want, but I don't know. It's such a TNA have a way of coming up with unique match types that just stand out, you know? Instead of like the biggest revelation in match types that WWE has come up with recently is like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a Hell in a Cell, which is a cage match, but bigger. We're gonna do Elimination Chamber, which is a Hell in a Cell match, but bigger.
And pots.
But to be fair, the last Hell in a Cell match got a 5-star rating.
Oh, I'm not saying the Hell in a Cell matches are bad. I'm just saying coming up with unique match types isn't WWE's strong point. Since like the Royal Rumble Survivor Series, they've kind of been like, oh, we're good. Like,
I mean, but like take perspective, like what WCW is doing at the same time. Like WWE comes with Hell in a Cell. WCW comes
The
up with
three-tiered cage.
the three-tiered cage of doom. Hi, Dennis.
Hello, Dennis.
Actually, no.
Everyone say hello to Dennis. This is Dennis. The show. He's the guy that runs Wilkes Comic Con. Everyone say thank you.
Hope you guys are having a good time. Just want to check up on you. Didn't have a chance to hear recently. So
Yeah.
you guys good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd say I'm more chaotic good, but
Sorry to interrupt. That's fine.
we're just bashing around ideas. But yeah, like Mike and I have been to.
since
I don't
September.
want to say every major promotion because that puts down like MLW and all that. We've done a WWE, an AEW, an Impact, and a New Japan show all in the last like 8 months.
Well, put it like Big Four.
Big Four,
Yeah,
so-
and since September we've been to the Big Four. We traveled to Philadelphia for Impact.
And not to quote, but we got to sit front row at the ECW arena, and it is quite possibly the best thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Wow.
We got front row, ECW arena.
Scott D'Amore standing
Like
there.
we got to chat with Scott D'Amore. Like we were watching something in the ring, and I just turned to we were watching Josh Alexander and Moose in the ring, and we're leaning on the ground, stood up leaning on the ground. I was like, why are they bringing Team Canada back?
To which
We didn't know Scott D'Amore was stood right here.
Well, no.
He's-
To which I said, because I knew Scott was there, because
Yeah.
I was paying attention, and to which I said, when Josh Alexander wins the title, that's when he should bring back Team Canada, which then Scott DeMore.
Scott DeMore just turned. Nobody wants that shit. We went,
We do?
it was right there.
It-
And then we're gonna have a nice long conversation with like Zicky Dice, and
we got to meet Chris Saban.
got to hang out with Chris Saban, which is pretty cool.
We got the two sweet Jay White and the Good Brothers.
Yeah, Jay White complimented my beard, which is why he is now IWGP World Heavyweight Champion.
And it's also why, because Anderson
Yep.
and Gallows complimented me,
As
and
the
that-
Rosemary.
and that's why they are the
Yeah,
tag team champions right
My
now.
beard is good luck. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, what do y'all think of Money in the Bank?
Like
Liv
this year or
Morgan-
the concept?
Liv Morgan cashing in, Austin Theory winning the men's Money in the Bank. So I could have sworn they were leading to a program between Austin Theory and John Cena.
And they still probably will.
So
I would
now
say
that-
WrestleMania.
The new rumor is that apparently the plan was always to have Theory be a last second addition to the match and win Money in the Bank, because the idea is that in theory he is going to take a title
From Roman.
from Roman with the Money in the Bank, and then that's going to lead to Cena versus Theory at Mania, because apparently there's a scheduling thing with Cena, which is why he can't do SummerSlam.
Right, but Austin Theory's bad.
So the idea is that they
Sorry, that was a bit opinionated of me.
I mean, I agree. He still has a lot to develop on, but the thing is that for him, he's being viewed as the next John Cena. And the
Yeah,
idea
yeah.
is that the match at Mania is supposed to be Cena passing either A, passing the torch on the Theory, or B, breaking Ric Flair's record. Whether Ric Flair will be
And it would-
live
and
to
like-
see it happen is another story.
At this point, if someone beats Reigns, it's kind of strapping the rocket shit to him, isn't it?
Well,
Because he's been champion for what, 2 years now?
Well, if they beat him for the Universal Championship, but that,
it doesn't matter what title belt that they take off him. Any time, because the idea is that they're going to have to split the.
And he won, but Brock Lesnar.
Well, apparently, if the idea is that Cody just did an interview, Cody Rhodes, and he said that he had hemorrhaging. They're not telling him. I think he's Royal Rumble. He's
Yeah.
winning the Rumble, and he's getting one of those belts off, because that's one of the rocket ships that's going to happen.
I think you'll see Cody and Reigns in the Rumble at WrestleMania.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because I think Cody's going to win Rumble.
Oh, I thought you meant wrestle Reigns in
No,
Rumble.
no. I think Cody wins Rumble.
Yeah, no,
to get
you're
Reigns
absolutely
at
right.
WrestleMania.
Like 100%.
Yeah, because I know that they're doing. Oh, the doctors aren't giving me timeline. We've seen pec injuries before. We know the timeline. 6 to 9 months. You're going to be back in time for that.
hey, John Cena came back and forth. I'm just saying.
I mean, well, also the thing to keep in mind is the reason we also have Lesnar, and you and I have debated this before, is the reason we're getting Lesnar is because now we're not having John Cena at WrestleMania. Cody's hurt. Seth is in a program now with AJ Styles.
Yeah.
And they're going to do Drew versus Roman in theory at Clash at the Castle, which is the show they're doing in the UK.
I'm well aware it's the show they're doing in the UK. And I'm also well aware there's not going to be a single NXT UK talent on that entire pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because that program rocks. It is so good.
You know,
You're not watching NXT UK, you're missing out.
I had to
But I think because they have all these other plans with all these other wrestlers, they're just defaulting Brock, which is a massive mistake.
That is what they're doing.
Yeah.
That wasn't the argument we had. The argument I had is that they didn't need to do that. You would just maintain that that's what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, I'm well aware of that. I'm like, but they didn't need to. You have AJ Styles stood right there, the man who was single-handedly given every WWE champion of the last 5 years their best match. There isn't a WWE or Universal champion that hasn't had their best match and it not be with AJ Styles. Just plug him in against Roman for like 2 shows while you build up Edge or Finn or Cody, or not Cody because he got hurt, or
Well, especially now with Finn.
what's his name? Damian Priest or
Well, I would definitely say, like, I think a thing that would have worked even better if, because they're not really doing that supernatural thing, although things are now a little iffy with the Judgment Day because of Ripley's injuries. You know, they kind of got faltered, but like, if they're gonna do the supernatural stuff, it would have worked with Edge, especially the fact that he's doing supernatural vignettes.
Yeah.
Right now. You couldn't tell it was Edge in those vignettes by just based on who they're teasing in the vignettes of past rivalries. You haven't been paying attention.
Yeah. But like, I'm gonna be frank with you. I've not sat down to watch a WWE show since outside of NXT UK. Since like the third week of NXT 2.0. I just kind of was like, there's too much wrestling on television for me to watch at this point. I need to cut some stuff out of my schedule. And unfortunately, it was Raw, it was SmackDown, and it was NXT. I was like, I still need more. I want to watch Rampage, I want to watch Impact, I want to watch Dynamite. I want to watch I want to spend time to watch Progress. I want the total of AwesomeMania. So I still follow the. Come on, brain, do words.
Words.
Promotions. That's what I was looking for. I still follow promotions from back home, right? Like, so it's weird. Like, not to segue into English wrestling for a minute, but when Progress and ICW started being uploaded to WWE Network, and they started uploading during the pandemic stuff, it was not the best showing for those promotions at all. Like, you come back now and they've got crowds, and it is a whole different thing.
Well, that's
So
like,
good.
that's like one of the interesting things about like compared to an American audience. Like, we know like the Raw after Mania is like a completely different universe because you have that melting pot of people from other countries and stuff like that in the crowd for the Raw after Mania. But like when we've seen like when NXT did the takeover in UK,
Yeah.
takeover Blackpool, I believe it was. Like that audience was just unglued, and then when they did Beast in the East, the Japan shows, like seeing how the
The Progress fans are responsible for my favorite chart of all time. There was Progress aren't afraid to do comedy wrestling, right? So there was a match where two people were wrestling, and someone put someone in a hole, and they were actually talking so the crowd could hear them. It's like, well, why don't you try and get out of this one? And he's like, I don't know how to reverse it. And the whole crowd, as one, started chanting, press R2, press R2, press R2. I was like, I'm done. I'm a fan for life.
But that's the thing though. It's like when you look at outside of this country, you know, for fan bases and how the fans interact, it gives you a greater appreciation of the product as a whole too, because the different fan bases make the wrestling. It really does.
Oh, and be warned, if you ever go to a New Japan Pro Wrestling show, they don't do exchange rates. When we went to New Japan Capital Collision, I can't actually I'm disabled, I don't look very well, so I can't get through the merch lines. So Mike and our friends go run line, and my thing is I like baseball caps, right? So I was like, I'll pick up baseball caps, fine.
And this is also when we went. This is like what 2 days before your birthday.
Yeah.
So this is also a birthday present for him too at the same time.
So he buys me an LRJ hat. Comes back and he goes, how much do you think this hat was? It's like, $25 though. That was a $70 hat.
No, we didn't know that until way after the fact.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the thing, I was like, man, I spent $150 and I bought 2 T-shirts and that hat bought the hat. And I'm thinking to myself like, oh, because I got a free T-shirt for spending over $100. And I'm thinking like, oh, the hat's like $30 or something like that. And then Matt goes way later and he starts looking at the hats and he comes back and he starts telling us like, oh yeah, the hats are $70.
It was 35,000 yen.
Yeah.
For a baseball hat.
So it's 70. The hat.
There are no children in here, right?
No.
Would you be offended if I swore for a moment? Fuck that.
So I got him the $70 hat, which was the cheapest hat. The next one was $120 Then they had a $300 hat and a $400 hat.
They don't do exchange rates.
That's ridiculous.
So I'm glad you love your $70.
And I never worn it.
I know.
If I wear it, I'm gonna feel guilty. It's just hanging on my wall.
Like, I'm glad you love the hat. But
Oh,
the,
I
but the
love
crazy
it.
thing is though, is that if I got it with the red tax instead of the white tax,
Yeah.
that was the $120 hat. It's like, oh my god. Like
The two people I wanted to see at that show, Will Ospreay and Hiromu. And then Hiromu canceled. I was like, but we did get to see Murder Grandpa. So
yeah, we did get to see Murder Grandpa take on Brody King.
that match was so good.
The Eddie Kingston match was really good too.
Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah. But also just to throw this out there as well, when New Japan does their merch, like you're wearing like the WWE t-shirt, I'm wearing a pro wrestling t-shirt. The quality of the New Japan stuff is a lot better than what we get at like a WWE show.
I just had a thought.
Yes.
Sorry, not to cut you on your merch talk, but I want to talk Smash Wrestling.
How many differences between
Given what we saw at Capital Collision and what we've seen since, is Eddie Kingston one of the best wrestlers in the world right now?
I definitely think he's one of the most underrated right
Like the match he had with Jericho, the blood and guts stuff, and we all know how good he is on the microphone.
Like Jericho got a 5-minute promo on Dynamite to promote the match for this Wednesday with Kingston. Kingston only needed 30 seconds because that's he made a point saying, "Oh, I'm only getting 30 seconds," and he cuts like a murder promo on Jericho.
I mean, he's been absolutely fire since Redeemed These Nuts, right? Like that was, I don't know. Kingston, just put the belt on him, give him a run with the title.
You know, here's the thing though. We just found out last night on Rampage that we're getting Claudio versus Brisha for the Ring of Honor title at
That match is
at Death Before Dishonor. At Death Before Dishonor, and we know that they're building towards Claudio versus Kingston. That
Eventually,
if Claudio were to get the Ring of Honor
But I
title,
want Kingston at the AEW though. I want Kingston against Moxley, and I want Kingston to win.
you know, actually I could see because of the stuff with Claudio and Kingston that could be what could lead into Moxley versus Kingston for the interim
There's no
title.
BCC.
But at the same time, though, it's been kind of spoiled potentially with the advertising for All Out. CM Punk and Mox are both on the poster. So there's
Well, we know that they're going to collide All Out anyway. We've known that since Punk got injured.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is that like, well, I mean, they never gave us the extent of the injury and how long he was.
Right, no, but like, they will not settle an interim title not on that.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, is that like they kind of spoiled when Punk is coming back, though. If that is what he comes.
If he can come back, right?
Yeah, by all.
So
So
gotta love to see him injure himself jumping into the crowd.
he's probably not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
He's probably just going to walk up and just hug people instead at this point. So, any thoughts from the crowd, the audience?
You guys were snickering when I mentioned like Mae Young's hand.
Oh, well, I'm not as big of a wrestling fan. Well, I'm casually interested. He sent me, I guess, text. You sent me a video.
Yeah, video.
It was like the strangest work.
The birth, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
So,
possibly when the son came back, you know.
Oh, 20 years later.
Yeah.
was it just like some guy married his mother or something, or what was it?
So there was a wrestler for a while, Mark Henry, who's now
Yeah.
employed by AEW to say the words, and now it's time for the main event. And that's all he's employed for.
But he's good at it.
He was doing a gimmick at the time called Sexual Chocolate. And he ended up hooking up with WWE Hall of Famer Mae Young, who at the time was like 70 something. And they just did this angle where she was pregnant. And the baby came out, and all you saw of the baby was this plastic doll hand. And then and it is never mentioned again. Like she gives birth, and the storyline is dropped quicker than like Vince's death angle when Benoit died. It's dropped like that, and then at the 25th anniversary of Raw, Mae Young is just sat in the trainer's room, and you see this man dressed up in a big, like, foam hand mask, and just go, "Hi, Mom," and that's all you see.
I can remember what prompted me saying that to him. We were having a conversation. Was there anything stranger than Shockmaster that we'd ever
Yeah.
seen?
So do you know the funny story about Shockmaster?
I've heard a lot about him, but.
So when they did the rehearsal,
Yeah.
he didn't trip over.
Right,
Because because he bust through,
Yeah.
and between rehearsal and the actual live thing, someone went in and put in an extra stabilization piece
Yeah.
across the palm where he was supposed to burst through.
They accused Jim Crockett of doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Well, then there was also, and I think this was another thing you sent me, but who was a guy who trolled somebody's father's funeral or something?
Well, that was,
Big show.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
now that was commitment to the bit right there.
well, it was Boss Man that was the one doing
Yeah,
the trolling to Big
because
Show.
he drives up in his car and he's got the megaphone. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he chains up the casket and starts going the casket. Like the Attitude
The
Era.
actor was weird.
Yeah.
Attitude Era was a different era. Although it's weird though, 'cause when you kind of go back.
I'm trying to think of some of the other crazy stuff we saw in the Attitude Era.
Although it's kind of interesting though, because when you go back to the Attitude Era and you watch it today, a lot of it does not age well.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
So there was a storyline in the Attitude Era where Vince McMahon, and this will come as a shock to nobody given the recent allegations. We didn't know this at the time, but Vince McMahon was running a stable called the Corporate Ministry, right? We just knew that it was the higher power, right?
Yeah.
And the higher power had instructed The Undertaker to take Stephanie McMahon as his undead bride. Bear in mind, Stephanie's like 17 at this point. So there's a segment on Raw where The Undertaker and Paul Bearer are strapping a 17-year-old Stephanie McMahon to a cross in the ring.
Like the Undertaker style.
Yeah. And Paul Bearer is doing a marriage rite, and The Undertaker was stood right there. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes down, saves the day. And then like 2 weeks later, you find out the higher power was Stephanie's dad. And you're like, huh, that's not good.
I mean,
There was also supposed to, Vince had pitched an incest storyline between Shane and Stephanie. And they both went, no.
But here's the thing. This was during the time when Stephanie was pregnant with her and Triple H's first kid. This was 2006. And then when Shane and Stephanie said, no, we don't want to do that, the next thing that was proposed was that it was Vince's kid.
Yep.
To which Stephanie then goes, oh, hell no.
I'm leaving for a while. Yeah. The Attitude Era was weird, dude.
Well, that wasn't attitude era, that was ruthless aggression era.
No, I'm just talking about it.
Yeah.
What's some of the other stuff that happened during the Attitude Era?
So I didn't start watching until like the tail end of the Attitude Era. So like I started watching when
So you're kind of watching. So when we're doing the pay-per-view watch-alongs during the podcast, what we do is we riff along with it. You listen to the podcast with the pay-per-view, and we started with King of the Ring 1996. That was versus Austin 316, right?
And please note that everything that we're doing is 25th anniversary for everything.
Coincident, I promise you. Mike's never watched this stuff before, so he's only heard the tales of how good the era was when Stone Cold, Triple H, The Rock first showed up, and Goldust, and he's sitting there going, "A lot of these matches are bad. Like,
Like it also depends.
rose-tinted glasses are a bad thing in wrestling."
But it's nice because we have our friend Matt who's on. We're actually recording the next episode next Saturday.
with guest star.
Lan Pitts, who has actually written on the Boom WWE comic books.
Yeah.
I don't have his entire biography on me right now, but he is a comic book writer. He is currently writing for GameSpot. He's doing a lot of the wrestling interviews, so like the New Japan and stuff like that. He's actually interviewing the wrestlers for like the promote shows and stuff like that. So he's actually somebody that we've been friends with for a few years that we've been really trying to get on the show for a while. We actually had his significant other on last month.
It's really interesting because I've been watching wrestling since I've been watching wrestling since 1983. I've not really stopped, right?
I've been watching since like late 2000s.
So it's really interesting to see Mike's first reactions to some of this stuff. Like the first time he saw Austin and Pillman's gun segment, the infamous gun segment, Pillman's got a gun. Like, we talked a lot about WWE. Are there any other promotions you want us to talk about?
I know when you and I were chatting earlier when I was telling you about the panel, you are a New Japan fan.
Not much, I've not seen a lot of it. I've seen like,
But you're interested.
I'm interested in it, and then I'm, like, a lot of what I watched when I was young. See, I didn't start watching until '96.
Okay.
So it was WCW, like when Sting turned to the dark side. But my very first WCW show I ever watched, like was recorded by my grandmother, was actually Beach 94 with Hogan and Flair.
Dang.
So like and I'm like you, I wasn't alive in '83, but I went back and watched '83 Starrcade with Flair and Harley Race, all that.
So, let me get a bit misty-eyed telling this story. I was 5 years old, and my dad said, "Come on, we're going out." I'm like, "Where are we going?" He's like, "No, we're going out." And he took me to my local guild hall in North England. Capacity of about 150 people. And we had 2 tickets. And we went and saw wrestling. It was the very first time I'd ever seen wrestling. And it was a local English promotion that toured through our area like once a month. And I remember sitting with my dad, and I can remember the main event to this day. This was 1983. It was Fit Finlay against William Regal in an hour-long 2 out of 3 falls.
Wow.
This is both before they both came to the States, and from that moment I was hooked, because I watched these 2 people just turn each other inside out. They turned each other into pretzels for an hour, and it was just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And every month I'd save my pocket money, and I'd get myself a front row seat with a big bucket of popcorn, to the point where I was sitting in the same seat every month, and the wrestlers would learn I was in that seat, and they, like, William Regal would regularly come by and call me a toe rag, and it was just, this is the best, just the best. And I have been a fan since that day, and not to get on my own high horse now, but it is an absolute shame that William Regal is not in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It is absolute shame. Now that he's in AEW, that might be a little difficult. But
I don't know. Like, the interesting thing is that AEW and WWE are actually very friendly.
they all started to work together, yeah.
Yeah, like, because they just recently had Bryan Danielson, Big Show, or Paul White, and Mark Henry, and
Jericho.
although his wasn't used, and Jericho do video stuff for John Cena for the 25th.
And AJ Styles did a video for Impact.
Yeah. So you have, and then not only that, but with the documentaries that are coming up on A&E, Cody Rhodes is the executive producer for the one on Dusty, and Dustin is also an executive producer on it and doing interviews for the Dusty Rhodes documentary. So there's actually a lot.
Here's a controversial statement. Dusty Rhodes. There's a man who was overrated.
Yeah, I hate him.
Who?
Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes, the only man in Jim Crockett Promotions to ever win the television title and never defend it on television.
Yeah.
Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, everyone who held that tag team title, that television title, defended it on their weekly television show, except Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
What made him so special? Alright, he was the booker.
Yep.
Sorry. I got my high horse a bit about
But-
Dustin Rhodes.
But going back to the one thing though, because they're working friendly with each other, I could see, you know, I could still see a William Regal or a Christian Cage.
Right, but it shouldn't have taken them this long.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So we have our own Hall of Fame for AwesomeMania.
I mean, William Regal was my headline. Like,
So-
year one, William Regal, year two, Fit Philly. Duh. Like, they're the reason I watch wrestling.
But I remember my first show live, and my first show live was actually a house show, and it was when they had the brand split. Brock Lesnar's rookie year, Ric Flair had just started being a regular on television wrestling.
Ric Flair was already 17.
I want to talk about Flair in a bit. Because,
Oh, we'll get to Ric
Oh, yeah.
Flair.
Um,
Mr. Pacemaker.
We had Taker.
They can just restart it, right?
Taker is the champion at the time, and is this is literally days before the Jeff Hardy Undertaker Monday Night Raw ladder match.
You ever look back and wonder if Vince regrets pushing Jeff Hardy over man?
I don't think so. And the reason, we'll get to that in a moment. But anyways, so Brock Lesnar's rookie year, my dad took me, so we have the same thing in common, except there's a massive difference when it comes to our dads on this one. So we're a hockey. My dad and I, all he ever wants to watch.
That's a different pattern.
That, yeah. Oh wait, there is. But so we're watching, and the match is Matt Hardy versus Raven, and I'm actually a huge Raven fan. I love Raven for him. And Matt is all beat up from the match, and Brock Lesnar comes out and just assaults Matt Hardy, which leads into the match with Ric Flair, which then Brock Lesnar just kills Ric Flair.
Why would you do that to Ric Flair?
Because they were doing the feud on TV at the time.
I know, but
Because they felt that after the WrestleMania match with Taker, that Flair could build up Lesnar. Because the whole thing with Lesnar at the time was beating up on the legends before Randy Orton was becoming the legend killer. But the main event was Hulk Hogan versus The Undertaker for the title. Jeff Hardy was actually not on the card because
was it the universe? Was it the undisputed?
it was the undisputed title. It was the one belt that
They had a match on pay-per-view. Undertaker and Hogan for that belt.
yeah, it's the one where
It might be the worst match I've ever seen.
But now, which brings me to the point of Jeff, because Jeff wasn't on the card, which was a disappointment because I really wanted to see Jeff because I was a huge Hardy Boys fan.
Still are.
Still am. Although you have heard me say multiple times, you just kind of have to stop at the same time too.
You can be a fan of someone and realize they're done. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
Ric Flair fan.
Yeah,
I realized he should have retired like 52 years ago.
But the thing is that Jeff at the time was not doing house shows because that was kind of the deal because they knew he was burned out, but they still wanted to kind of push Jeff. Because between Jeff and Matt, at the time, Jeff was the one that all the fans gravitated to, so that's who you push. You know, obviously when you look back on it, kind of still the right decision. Today,
I'm sorry.
no, but today stands
How is it still the right decision?
because he was still the one that was over with everybody.
Right, but if you put some effort into pushing Matt, you wouldn't have been put into a position where,
Well, I think the thing is that especially when Jeff left,
yeah,
they definitely were putting more push on Matt. Not just because Matt was the only person.
right, and then he
still
got
there.
beaten,
Yeah,
which wasn't his fault, let's be honest.
yeah, but which then opened up a whole new can of worms for Matt. Which I was at that SummerSlam where they did Matt versus Edge and Hogan versus Michaels. Thank you, Shawn Michaels.
Oh
for
my
that.
god.
Thank you so much.
Have you guys seen that match?
That's the
The
worst
Hogan
match
Shawn
I've
Michaels
seen.
match?
That's the worst Hogan match I've
No.
No.
Let me tell you something. I was in the crowd for that match, for that SummerSlam in '05. That is possibly the greatest match to ever see.
I
in
love
person.
the fact that Shaw was just like, I'm not dealing with your crap.
Once we
I mean,
learned,
I agree
look
with
like an
you.
idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. He shouldn't have had to deal with it. He should have won the match. Hogan should have put him on.
Honestly, track down, there was an undisputed title match between Hogan and Taker.
Judgment Day 2002.
I must have been.
yeah, it was the one because it was
It's like a 20-minute, right, I think it's a 20-minute match. I'm not sure how long it is, because time seemed to never end. It's just punching and kicking and breast holds.
Because
For
Hogan,
like 20 minutes.
Yeah, but if you go back and look what happened at Survivor Series 91 with Hogan and Taker, and you see why it was bad, because Hogan took a tombstone and Hogan's like, oh, my neck, but he really, his head never touched the mat.
I'm not saying that
well, let's also be
there wasn't a reason. Because they're both back.
Well, let's also be honest too. Mark Calloway will do everything in his power when he hits a tombstone on somebody to make sure you're sick. That's the reason why sometimes when he does the move, it doesn't look like their head's hitting the mat. It's because he is protecting them to make sure he does not injure them. That is one thing.
But like back then, like SummerSlam 91, Hogan was Hogan and had his five moves down. And Undertaker was still green as grass. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And by the time it came back round in 2002,
Undertaker was better.
Undertaker was into his micro phase, which point he was no longer the Undertaker, he was Mark Calloway. The Undertaker died the day he became the American Badass. He never come back, don't talk. Because the mythos is just gone. You go like, oh, you're supposed to be spooky dude? How's your motorcycle?
I mean, spooky dudes can have motorcycles too. Look at Ghost Rider.
Yes, but that's been part of his character since the beginning. This man was literally billed as being dead. Suddenly, he's running around on a motorcycle singing Limp Bizkit.
So, all right, let's talk about Flair.
All right.
Because in 2 weeks we have Ric Flair's last match.
Sure. How many times have we heard that little nugget?
So, real quick.
What is he, Terry Funk?
No. So I want to put this out there. Ric Flair is on record in an interview saying that he sees himself dying in the ring.
He's gonna die.
Does that happen?
Did you see the tweet he made?
No.
He basically said,
I don't follow Flair on Twitter.
no, I saw it through like Reddit. He basically put out a thing that made it, what's the worst that can happen? I can pop a hip, whatever, surgery. I can break a rib, whatever, surgery. My pacemaker stuff, whatever, they can just turn it back on. No! It's not how pacemakers work! You don't have a rip cord like a fucking chainsaw!
I mean,
If that gets turned off, you are dead! Has a doctor not explained this to you?
it's my Triple H retiring.
Somebody clearly can do it.
No. So okay. So I live in Maryland. Ben lives in Northern Virginia. So we live in the DC metro area.
Right.
In Maryland, we went to Full Gear in 2019, which was the first AEW pay-per-view of the Dynamite era. And the match that between Moxley and Omega, the Lights Out match, the person up there complained to the state commission and AEW got fined $10,000 because of that match, because of the blood. Because Maryland has strict rules with the state commission and all
Can you
that.
imagine what they made of the blood and guts match?
Now, the same guy who complained and got AEW fined $10,000 wrote a letter to the Tennessee State Commission saying that they should not allow to clear Ric Flair to wrestle in the match. They should revoke his wrestling license because you actually have to have a
I mean,
license.
they're right.
I mean, he's right. The guy is 100% right. And he actually sent it out to other states, including Maryland, saying, if Ric Flair wants to wrestle in your state, you should deny his request automatically because of the fact that this man is literally looking to die in the
He's
ring.
trying to kill himself.
Yeah, that's what it looks like right now because when he did the stuff in Impact with Hogan, he asked Shawn Michaels for permission to go back into the ring in Impact, back when it was still TNA. To which Shawn was just like, you shouldn't, but I'm not going to stop you. And it's just,
Why can't people just retire and stay retired?
because they live by the older generation, the generation from like the 70s, the 80s, the territories era, they literally live by the adage of never say never.
Right, but I'm looking at people like Edge and Daniel Bryan, who anytime they think any move in the ring, I'm like,
So at least for Edge, with us, we know for a fact he has literally said this is the only contract that I'm signing that's going to make me a wrestler. Because Edge literally said, I only want to do specific things and then I'm done because there's just a bucket list of stuff we want to do.
Like every time we see Edge or
Daniel
Bryan.
Let's talk about Daniel Bryan, because he is out right now because of the concussion that he got at the Anarchy match, and he's clear to wrestle now, but Tony Khan is not clearing him to wrestle.
Yeah.
He's literally holding him out on purpose because you got a major concussion. It took you out of Forbidden Door, which screwed up booking a little bit.
Yeah.
It took you out of Blood and Guts.
Dude, I wanted to see that match so bad.
And like,
Can you imagine how good Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. would have been?
but the thing is though, is that for Bryan Danielson, I think Tony Khan, he's going to keep him in the Blackpool Combat, number one. But number two, he's going to go, I don't want you wrestling every week anymore. I don't want you wrestling at every single pay-per-view anymore. I want you to have only high-profile matches at certain events. I think that's what Tony Khan is doing to him because of this latest concussion that he just suffered.
Alright, so we will give it 10 minutes to think
Yeah.
back before I spend 5 minutes ranting about Ric Flair. So, you want to go any final thoughts?
If you can have a chance to go to an AEW show, an Impact show, or a New Japan show, because New Japan is trying to branch out more in the United States.
They've got a whole LA dojo now.
I think they just recently did a show in Charlotte, or they just announced a show in Charlotte for New Japan. Go. Go because you're getting different styles. You're in a way culturing yourself. You know, you're getting to see different stuff outside of the WWE, outside of AEW, and stuff like that. To see different, try to go see different shows. Also, go to your local wrestling shows too. Promote your local indies because some of the guys that you see in some of these indie shows, you may see later down the road. I have actually worked with MJF, with MCW Pro Wrestling up in the Baltimore, Maryland area. I've worked with Joe Keys, who you've seen on AEW Dark get destroyed by Lance Archer and stuff like that. I've worked with these guys, you know, in another promotion and seeing where they are now.
I asked for final thought, not final monologue.
No. But that's what I'm saying. Go promote your local promotions as a final thought because you don't know who you see at these shows will end up in WWE, Impact, AEW, stuff like that.
My final thought, two things. Watch other wrestling. Not just go to other shows, but like, there are ways to watch Impact if you don't have any access to TV. Same with New Japan. Like, Impact, you can pay 99 cents a month on their YouTube channel, and they stream their weekly show live. Like, New Japan and New Japan World. The other thing I want to say, and I say this at every wrestling panel I do, and it's different people like different kinds of wrestling, right? I cannot stand John Cena. Can't stand him. But not once have I looked at the man and John Cena and actually gone, you are wrong for liking John Cena. Be tolerant of every type of wrestling. Some people like flippy wrestling, some people like submission wrestling, some people like big meaty men slapping me. All kinds of wrestling is viable. Please don't gatekeep people. Enjoy the wrestling you enjoy. Let people enjoy the wrestling they enjoy. That's all I'm going to say. The other thing I would say, as I always try to say on these panels, is I introduced you to Dennis earlier. He's the guy who runs this convention. There are a lot of people walking around in Wilkes Comic Con stuff, security t-shirts. They're all here, not getting paid, running the show for you guys. I can tell you for a fact, so I'm part of the staff, it is a thankless job. If you get a chance to say thank you to them, please do. They're giving up their day and they spent the last few months planning this so you guys can be here, have a good time, and talk about other stuff. So please just say thank you. And there is a tradition where we end up everything we do by saying,
Social media.
that we don't talk about it.
If anyone wants social media, I have business cards on me. You can hit me up, and then I can send you.
Don't do that. Yeah, whatever. Find me at Bobby Goldfish on Twitter. Find him at Lindenbaum 75. We end up every panel, every podcast, everything I do, I end it the same way. By saying, guys, cows, and non-binary pals. The words of the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, be excellent to each other. Party on, don't get specific on our fix. See you next time.
Oh.
I know you need to remember.
I appreciate that.
I don't think Paul got me confused. Yeah, you said you have social media cards?
Yeah, it's just mine, but then you can